am so excited to welcome all of you stewards of the land, humanitarians, solutionists. Welcome to another episode, yet another amazing guest where I am going to be interviewing this incredible woman who is going to absolutely blow your mind. Her name is Myrick, and she will be coming on in just a few minutes as more people are coming in live to the studio. Well, not in the studio. It's your house is your studio. This is my studio. But someday I welcome you all here to the Big Island at Always in Season Retreat. But anyway, for all of you new people who are coming in or people listening to the replay, this is where I have the privilege and the honor to interview passionate change makers, thought leaders, social and environmental innovators, and wellness practitioners. And the topic for our show today happens to be cultivating wellness and a positive mindset with Myrick, who's going to be really focusing on our mental health, our mental well-being, and how our mindsets can shift all of this. And she's got years of experience. Before I give her a formal introduction, a few housekeeping rules. Reminder, everybody, this is a live broadcast. You are free to raise your hand, put your comments in the chat. And when you raise your hand, we will answer every question. We will bring you on live if you'd like to come and share your stories. I also want to make sure that everybody shares this channel with your friends and family or anybody who could benefit with it from it. And in the chat, you'll see where you can subscribe to getting our our weekly blogs where I blog about my speakers. And we'll put our blog for this week in the chat as well. And you can also subscribe on YouTube or Spotify if you want to listen to the replays, and we'll have all that information in the chat. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an best-selling author of several books, and this is the book I'm going to be reading a very short paragraph in today. In the link in the chat, we'll also put where you can find out more about my books. This book is called Living Like the Future Matters, The Evolution of a Soul-to-Soul Entrepreneur. And it's about the unattainable, unsustainable American dream and how it's caused personal addictions for each and every one of us, whether it's gambling, sex, drugs, food, work. Somebody's got something that they can't stop doing enough of. So I was one of those people, a workaholic and a foodaholic, and I had a major crash, and then I rose like a phoenix, and here I am with you all today. And this is one of the main ways that I got out of my funk, changed my mindset, and have been able to help so many other people adjust their lives around this little tiny organ in our head called our brain. This is out of this chapter called Restoration, Planting Seeds for the Future. And the name of this little section is called Choosing Mindful Thoughts and Words. And a quote, "A new mindset evolves with awareness and acceptance of our thoughts and our words." A big shift came for me when I changed my use of words. For example, I eliminated saying these 5 things: I have to, got to, should have, wanting, and needing. And instead, I replaced these words and phrases with choosing or choice. Changing my language helped rewire my brain. I chose a mindset of opportunity and awe, as opposed to one of doubt and desperation. It was a choice to choose love and compassion as my driving force. I chose to have a healthy, pea-sized ego. I did not want or need to go or do something. It was my choice. It's a choice to make the best of every situation. Choosing to unplug from the news and ignore propaganda help program my mind. I chose to switch to healthy habits and nurturing habits. When I changed the way I thought, I made better choices. It's your choice to change. Okay. Thank you for listening to that. Thank you for choosing to listen to that. You didn't need to, you didn't have to, you didn't really want to necessarily, and you didn't gotta, shoulda, all that stuff. You're here today because you chose to be here to learn for this incredible speaker. Lo, I am so excited to have you on the show, Lo Myrick. She is not only a speaker and a workshop facilitator, she's also an executive coach. She's a consultant who helps teams and organizations and individuals prevent burnout and to cultivate a life of excellence. Those who work with Lo leave feeling more confident, focused, and clear. That's what we're here to do today. Yay. She is an expert at helping others make massive shifts quickly by blending her unique experience in business with life coaching, neuroscience, progress improvement, energy psychology, and she incorporates ancient wisdom. And I know some of you who are on the live show right now have, we've heard from other people who are channelers or people who are listening to the indigenous ways. So I'm so excited for you to touch on this ancient wisdom, Lo. And I want to welcome you and everybody who's on the live broadcast and listening to it on our other live channels. Welcome to A Dose of Positivity, and let's give Lo a big aloha and welcome to the show, Lo.
Hi, aloha. I love that you say aloha, and I think I want to adopt that because it's so friendly.
Yes, and it means love, really, giving love. So I would love to start out this conversation by letting everybody know that Lo's mom is also in the house, which is some ancient wisdom. Don't get me wrong, she's not that old, but I mean the wisdom of our elders. And I'm so delighted to have your mom here with us on the show today. And so let's hear, and you know, your mom's right here. So tell us, how did you get to this point of who you are in this very moment? What brings you here
Yes.
in this position of impacting so many people around the world, honey?
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so excited to be here. And I have to say, two things that you read from your book stood out. It's funny that you said you removed those 5 phrases. When I first started my journey, when I was getting a coach and a therapist for the first time, I stopped saying should for at least a year or two. I didn't say the word should at all. And I hardly ever say it now. And I love that you expanded to those 5 words and made it a choice, because that gives us so much power back. So I love that excerpt from your book. And I can't remember what the second thing was, but if it comes back, I'll share it.
So
So yes, how did I get here? I have really cobbled together all of the things that I love doing. I grew up competing pretty intensely, and through that time, I wouldn't have said this at the time, but now looking back and knowing the things that I know, I was probably struggling with a mild depression for many years, and untreated, undiagnosed, and really diving into that self-discovery work after college. When I started my first job, I thought like, oh, once I graduate, everything will like be better. Once I'm working, everything will be better. And then it wasn't. So it's just been such a beautiful journey since then. And through the ups and downs, as I'm sure everyone knows is on this call. And yeah, I kind of blended. I went on these 2 paths after college. One was business and process improvement, and then startups and working for, big companies that were doing a lot of great things and growing fast. And I was leading global training and development programs. And then on the other side, I had this life coaching practice. And then I added in energy psychology and trauma training. And so I've really blended these 2 worlds of business and like emotional, mental health, soft skills, and really have created something that I think helps people in their whole lives, but also especially in business. And so just the the certain somatic practices like breathing. Actually, that's one thing that you mentioned. Like, I include the ancient wisdom in my bio because of all of the traditions that I've studied, whether they're religious or they're more spiritual or they're newer kind of somatic, not newer somatic practices, but somatic practices is like a newer word. And some of these newer healing modalities that are being developed, they all talk about breathing. Like it's such a simple practice. And I'd love for everyone just right now, I'd love to do this together. Just put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And if you can, inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And if you want to let out a little sigh on that exhale, that's great too. And that's actually a signal. You can keep breathing as I'm talking. That's a signal to your nervous system that that you're safe and it's okay to relax. So if you ever feel like you're in a high anxiety situation, in a high stress situation, you're not thinking clearly, do a couple deep breaths, give an audible sigh. And that's a signal to your body that you're okay. Let's take one more deep breath together. Wherever you're at, just take one more. And we'll ground ourselves in this space. And I like to end with a little, like I cross my hands over and rub my shoulders. And that's another really great grounding somatic practice. And then you're giving yourself a hug. And then I'm sending a hug to all of you.
Yay. I love that. You know, it's so great to hear you say that because more and more I'm being told that because as I get older, health issues are coming up with me. And you know, I'm somebody who struggles with sleep apnea and uses a CPAP, and the breathing is you know, we don't breathe, we die, right? We don't drink water, we die, right? There's just a few things we can eat, not eat for a long time, and we'll still live, but we got to breathe. And one of the things that is practice to add to that, if you don't mind, is the whole pranayama of opposite nosal days, you know, this kind of breathing too. So, and that is the opposite nose breathing, really helping with the brain and the mental health, right? Is balancing the left and the right brain. Can you talk a little bit more about, you mentioned about suffering with this low grade depression, and I think that, you know, with that in vulnerability and honesty, can you share what that felt like? Because I know there's more mental illness happening now more than ever before, and post COVID is we're seeing a lot of people in the healthcare position leaving their posts, and there isn't enough people to care for everybody, and that's why you're breathing and all of these self-care things are so important. But can you share a little bit more about that and what symptoms that people could be looking for right now? Maybe they are not motivated. What does that mean to have like a low grade depression?
Oh man, a low grade depression can really show up differently in everyone. And I'm not an expert on this by any means. So I just on depression specifically. So I don't want to present myself as such. But in my experience, it was a prolonged lack of enthusiasm or hope about the future, that things would improve. Also just generally, like, I think that's such a strong one of just not being excited about the future and not feeling like you have purpose and you're constantly questioning the meaning of life. Not like like I wonder about what the purpose of life is. It's a deeper kind of all-encompassing feeling that just kind of takes over you. And I felt it also more recently last fall as I was going through some health issues, and it took me a couple weeks to figure out what was going on. I was like, man, why do I feel like shit? And I was like, oh, I probably have a little bit of a depression right now, which for what I was going through is not unusual. So I wasn't alarmed. It was like, okay, now I need to take care of myself. But other things I would say is Yeah, it shows up differently in everyone. So it can be lack of motivation. It can be feelings of overwhelmed. Like you can notice yourself getting triggered more easily. You might feel exhausted more easily. And there's a difference between feeling unbalanced from a mental health perspective and having a depression. And so that's where you really need someone to come in and help you diagnose that. And there's lots of professionals that can help you do that. I think even just generally speaking, mental health, like any kind of mental health concerns on a like that affect all of us from time to time are, trouble sleeping, trouble dealing with stressful situations, needing needing more time away from people than normal, like when you're kind of pulling back from social situations, even if you are an introvert, like if you're kind of cocooning back even more. So those are just some of the signs. But mental health is really, if you think about it, it's about our mood. It affects our memory. It affects our ability to process information. So if you're having trouble like sequentially placing events, or if you're having trouble solving problems, those can also be signs that you probably need a break. What's really interesting about this is that when our stress levels rise, right, and they stay high for a long time, that's what we tend to call anxiety, when we're just constantly at a higher level of stress. Like if this is 0, right, and then you're up here, you're near your stress threshold. And what happens the higher you go on that level is that you lose access to your hippocampus and to your amygdala. That's all of your executive thinking, rational processing, memory, all of that stuff. And if you cross your stress threshold, it then becomes even harder to come down from there. And we'll talk about in a little bit, like what are ways that you can take care of yourself so that you don't cross that threshold. But I think part of the problem in our society today, and I know this is me for a long time, is I was operating like right at or near or right below my stress threshold. But I thought that was normal because that's just where I was all the time. And I know, Donna, I think you have the same experience.
Guilty.
And but you really crossed your threshold. And then, and then I don't want to tell your story for you, but like having that crash and burn is what happens if we don't take care of our mental and emotional health over long periods of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, wow. Try and find the opt-in for burnout and bliss. If you can find that, pop that in there, and everybody who get that, if you're relating to this, you'll want to get that. But Lo, this is so awesome, because I'm experiencing so many things that you're talking about, because I'm in that place where you were maybe 6 months ago. So can you talk about what happened to you 6 months ago and where you kind of went from that? You identified, well, I felt this kind of low grade depression when I was in high school, to like, here it is back again.
Yeah.
And when that was like 6 months ago or something, can you share that? What happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was having like a bunch of different health things come up, and some really uncomfortable symptoms. And through research, I'd gone to an urgent care. They tried to give me some stuff, some pills. It wasn't helping. And which I don't like taking anyway, but it was like, this is so bad. Like I need something. They didn't help. So I'm like in the deep dive of the rabbit hole on the internet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have leaky gut and candida overgrowth. And so just then, like learning everything I did about that was like, it's essentially your whole GI system. And what for me, and everyone's story is different, but for me, it was due to years of stress, years of overusing Advil, because I started taking Advil from a really young age. I think I don't know, mom, I don't know if you can remember because she's on, we can ask her. But I mean, it was definitely when I was like 13 or 14, when I was having shoulder problems and the doctors were like, oh, just take Advil. But then I just taking fairly high doses for my years of competing. And then, and so that over the years wore away the lining of, it removed the good bacteria from my gut and then disrupted the lining in my large intestine. So this wasn't like a 6-month thing. This is, 20 years of different things that had culminated being in a high stress work environment. And then also this was like after I retired in my mid 20s through early 30s. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, well, I'm not an athlete anymore. I'm not a college athlete, but also compete. And so I'm in these high stress environments. And then I decide to do triathlons. And what I didn't know at the time was that when you're already in a high stress environment, your cortisol levels are up, and then you go and push your body, and that messes up your cortisol levels even more. And so, not that I think working out is amazing, I just think there's limits to it. And so all of that kind of contributed, certainly some things in my diet that I was doing as well. And so that was just a revelation for me, learning all about that. And then, started to work with a doctor, and the only way to heal that is to heal leaky gut, to heal SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is through diet, and time. That's it.
Yeah.
And so really what I was going through, that depression, was all of the die off of the bad bacteria, the candida, everything that had affected me. And I read about it, so I knew that it wasn't for sure going to happen, but it would likely happen. And so I was kind of prepared, but not like, when are you ever prepared to go through that? And I had to just be really gentle and kind with myself and give myself permission to rest, which historically has been hard for me. So now I've learned how to rest and not judge myself for it, because I think one of the things that we do, and I don't know if anyone can relate to this, so please pop this in the chat if it does relate, but when you do something, or you're like being hard on yourself, for, let's say, for resting, right? So it's like, oh man, like I know I need to rest, but I should do more. And you're shoulding on yourself. And then you like pile shame on top of whatever is already going on. It's like, why are we so mean to ourselves?
Yeah. No, I think you're asking me, and I think I know why. Does anybody want to know why? I think I know why. I think it's because it gets back to why I wrote Living Like the Future Matters. It's because society has inflicted this upon us and put us at the mercy of the industrial food complex and the pharmaceutical companies. And we are really more inclined to listen to somebody else than ourselves, because we've been told that over and over again. You got to go to a specialist or do this or that. And I love, that's the ancient wisdom, right? Comes back to knowing thyself and breathing and taking that deep time to recognize that we have that power to take back our health. We have, like you this whole conversation is about mindset, right? And wellness. We have to make that choice to change. And I am talking to myself right now, and I swear I feel like I'm talking to a mirror, because I've gotten diagnosed with SIBO. I think everybody on this call probably has SIBO. And if you don't yet, you will tomorrow, because you'll start reading about it and you'll go, oh, that's me. Because one year it's IBS, then it's Crohn's, and it's Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue. All of these things are real. And what the real thing is just what you said, is just like, why do we do this to ourselves? Is because we're allowing somebody else to take care of ourselves.
Or like, oh, I had a friend say this the other day and my heart broke for him. He's like, well, he has gout. And he's like, I'd rather just take a pill. Like, I don't want to change my diet or my lifestyle. And I was just like, oh man, like but that's where he was. So I was like, just sending him loving kindness. But I totally agree. I think because we're not taught how to be in touch with our bodies. And there were so many things, like as I was going through this process of healing, and I'm still healing, but I'm so much better, thank goodness. Going through that process, I was like, I did not even realize how many things I was just living with, because they'll slowly sneak up and pile on you. And so it's hard to realize them until they get so bad that it's like, oh, I have to go urgent care, or like, I have to do something about this right now. And so,
Right.
and we just, so many of us, and I lived this way for so long, like our heads are just decapitated from our bodies. We're not paying attention to our bodies. We're not living in our bodies. And I know the topic today is wellness and a positive mindset, but they do, like, they're all tied together. Your emotions, your memories, trauma, everything lives in your body. And like our brains are so much more powerful if we're tapping into our bodies, if we're using the power of our bodies. I'm going to answer this question in the chat. How do you spell SIBO? It's SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. But yes, our bodies are so powerful. And if we're not paying attention to them or tune into them, we're really not fully experiencing life, I don't think. And we're certainly not healthy.
Yeah. Listen, it's so great. I want to get back to that. And someone was just asking how to spell SIBO in the chat. It's capital SIBO, all capital letters, small intestinal bowel overgrowth. But also there's 2 episodes when you get a minute, pop them in, and you're going to want to listen to these 2, Lo, because they'll blow your mind. These are 2 guests that were on last year. One is Dr. Natasha Campbell. She's the author of the GAPS diet. She has written several books on this and does trainings for health practitioners to become certified leaky gut specialists. And the other is Dr. Ann Johnson. She's a functional medicine doctor, and I worked with her for a while and did a gut zoomer test. So for those of you who are listening to that, because Lo, I think what your experiences is kind of what I'm experiencing myself, and this mindset and this thing, and what I love about you and why I was so excited to bring you on the show is you're a competitor. You are gonna, like, it's the same thing with me. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna write these 5 books, I'm gonna do it, or I'm gonna do this, or so I'm gonna take care of my health right now. So I am on health overload. So I have to remind myself to do exactly what you said at the beginning. Breathe.
Yeah.
Because
And
so I just love you.
it's so funny that you said that, because it's so true. And like, I'm so competitive with my health, and I'm obsessed with personal development and wellness and like being better. So like, once I learned all this stuff, I was like, I'm doing this immediately. Like, there was no question. So like, I'm not competing with anyone, other than my own health and wellness, but like, I am obsessed with personal development and wellness. And I want to be the best version of myself. And when your body is not at its best, and when it's hurting, like the gut brain axis is real, number one. But when you're in what you eat, and how your GI system is performing, it impacts your ability to think critically, to all of those executive level functioning things that we were talking about earlier. How simple carbs. I just saw a post by Doc Ammon. I don't know if anyone follows him. I'll put his name in the chat.
Daniel. Amen.
Yes,
Daniel.
love him. And he was saying, simple carbs, like if you have ADHD, you need to avoid simple carbs or severely limit them, because they will have a significant impact on your ability to focus and be productive, and a couple other things, but not just simple carbs. There's other things as well. But what I want to like hone in on is, we have to like think of our whole self. That's what wellness to me is. Like, holistic wellness is the whole body. And I can't be I'm not going to be able to help my clients or solve problems. Like if I'm consulting with a business or an athletic team, I'm not going to be able to help them solve their problems if my brain's not functioning properly. And it bleeds into all areas of our life. And so one of the things I want to share, this might blow some people's minds because this blew my mind, is that on average, take away everything that we just talked about with physical health. Like if we just take that away and talk about our brains, on average, 70% of your thoughts and beliefs are negative and disempowering. It's not your fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's just how society and how we've evolved, especially, I believe those stats are US based stats. But 70% of your thoughts and beliefs, the core beliefs that you hold about yourself, about the world, are negative and disempowering. So think about that. And then if you label on or put on top of that unhealthy physical disorders and other things that we do, we're like, oh my gosh, we're fighting an uphill battle with ourselves to be healthy and productive. And I love talking about some of this stuff in businesses and corporations and with student athletes, because it's so much more than just give yourself a positive affirmation. Like it has to be that choice. Like you said earlier, Donna, it has to be the choice. And to me, the key is understanding how my brain works so that I can rewrite some of those beliefs so that the changes that I'm implementing will stick, rather than, okay, like here's how I be more focused, or here's how I be more productive. It's like, how can we do everything to be a better version of myself as a whole?
How? You asked the question, how can I be a better version of yourself? So what are some actionable steps that we can all do? Because I think everybody, not just on this call, finds himself in overwhelm probably a good percentage of their lives due to the environmental stresses and societal pressures. So other than the breathing and also the diagnosis, I think is really important. But what are other things that you have started doing that you didn't do 6 months ago before you found this out, that are helping you manage the stress level and be as productive as you are right now?
Yeah, great question. And I think it's not that there's anything I'm doing now that's revolutionary. I think I'm doing more of it, and I'm tuning more into how I'm doing, and I'm being more proactive. So these, like some of these practices I've had for a really long time, but for me, like this current phase I'm in of healing is just like allowing me go to another level of wellness. And so the things that I've been doing and that I continue to do even more so is the breathing in a proactive way. It's taking 5 minutes or 10 minutes between my calls, or making sure I look at my schedule and I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm not scheduling too much in one day, or that like, if I look at my week, okay, what does my week look like? Because I know and I've existed this way for years. So if this is your life, I'm not judging you at all. I totally understand. It's a real part of our society. And this is where we get to choose a little bit of our own of how we opt out of this stuff. But it's like, I'm not going to take 6 hours of back-to-back meetings. I used to do that. And I wouldn't go to the bathroom or eat lunch until like 3 p.m. And by eat lunch, I mean, just eat anything that day. And that is so, I think now, and I'm like, oh, poor past me. I love her so much. She was doing the best she could. But now I refuse to do that. And so I give myself more space in my day between my meetings, because I find that especially last fall, I'll share with you this example, but when I wanted to work on stuff and do things, but there were some days the brain fog was so intense and I was so physically exhausted. I couldn't write an email, like a basic email, even if you asked me to. I was so tired. And so it really forced me to rest when I didn't necessarily want to. And then when I got to the end of, I can't remember if it was the end of the third quarter, which is September, or if it was the end of the year. And I do every quarter, I do recaps and just celebrate my wins and like, what's all the stuff I did. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got way more done than I thought I did. But the whole time, I was piling on that shame for not doing enough. So I was like beating myself up during that time of I'm not doing enough, and then putting more shame on top of myself for not doing it. And like when I got to the end of the quarter, I was like, oh, I actually did a lot. I actually accomplished all the things that I really wanted to do. Crazy how that works, isn't it? And so the lesson was, you can step away. You can take a 15-minute break. You can take a 30-minute break between meetings. And I know depending on where your employer is, like they might have certain restrictions, so you might not be able to do that. But being proactive, knowing yourself, knowing your schedule, not just doing the breathing, but making sure I'm drinking enough water. One thing I did change is my water quality. I got a Berkey, which I know you have, and really making sure that I'm having good, high quality water to not only stay hydrated, but to keep additional contaminants out of my system. And then meditating, I try to do a meditation for like 15 minutes, and I do all kinds. Like people think that meditation, I know you don't, Donna, and probably some people on this call don't, but in case you think this about meditation, I want to dispel all of the rumors. Meditation is not, sitting cross-legged in this position and just you like go into the state of Zen and bliss. Meditation is just being present in the moment. Breathing is a great way to do that, or doing a guided meditation, or going on a walk, whatever you're doing, and just focusing and being present. And if thoughts come by, that's totally normal. You just let them pass like a little cloud bubble, and then you come back to what you're doing. And it's just such a powerful practice. And I started walking more, and oh my gosh, it's my favorite way to move my body. And if I would have told myself that 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, I would have laughed at myself and thought I was crazy. But it feels so good.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to pause because that was a lot.
No, that was good. That was good. I love it. Those are actionable steps: breathing, walking, not shitting on ourselves. Shame on you for shitting on yourself, by the way, everybody out there. Shame on you. New shitting. Shame and should, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean I'm making a funny here, you guys. That's an East Coast Donna right there. Shame on you. But that's what society does, or even like kids. I mean, figure I grew up a post-depression era, and you spoke when you were spoken to, and shame on you if I that finger, don't even like that. But I just feel so relieved in a way to hear everything you're saying, and being honest and vulnerable, and sharing your story, because I think there's not one person on this call or replay who doesn't feel that they're not doing enough. Whether you're a grandma or you are fresh out of college, there's always that pressure to do more instead of to just be more. Be more of who you are. Do more of what you love, and you can be more of who you are. They didn't tell us that when we were growing up. They told us to climb that ladder, right? Even till today, kids, they're not so much climbing ladders anymore. They're just using their fingers, to see how many likes or whatever. It's a different kind of benchmark of like, if I don't have so many likes a day or comments, who am I? What am I done? Who am I? Nobody likes me. And what a judgment. I mean, and that is something that I'd like to spend some time on, this whole mindset issue of you kind of just cracking the code and sharing with us like how to break through that judgment, how to break through with a mindset of excelling acceptance of who we are.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah. It's funny that you said that. And I totally love, and I got chills when you said to do, I think you said do less and be more you.
Yeah.
And when I first started working with my coach, she was like, okay, less doing, more being. And I was like, I'm sorry, can you give me the steps to being? How do I do that? And she's like, literally the opposite of what
Yeah.
but it's a really hard concept for people who aren't familiar with it. So I want to just try to like break that down real quick, and then I'll answer the rest of your question. But being is like doing the meditations, it's meditating, it's breathing, it's taking the pressure off yourself, as Mama Donna just said, and giving yourself permission to relax, or give yourself permission to enjoy without the guilt or the shame. It is a state of just allowing yourself to live and thrive without the to-do lists, or like, oh, there's all these things I have to do today, or the tasks, and all of that stuff. So that's, I don't know if that was helpful for everyone, but just to kind of, because I did not know what it meant. And it took me a while to understand what is being. I didn't know that concept. So that's that. And then on mindset, I want to talk. So we talked about 70% of our beliefs and thoughts are negative and disempowering. The second piece to that is, by the time we're like in our mid-20s, we start thinking the same thoughts every day. Like 90%, 80 to 90% of your thoughts are the same from one day to the next, if you're on autopilot. So most people are just repeating all of this negative chatter, all this negative self-talk, all of the negative beliefs about themselves and about the world. And what you believe is what you attract. Your brain literally looks for evidence to support the beliefs that you have. So if you believe nothing good ever happens to me, that is all your brain is going to look for. And I have to tell this quick story because it's so powerful. It is about one of my clients, but it was just so crazy that we were talking about his relationship and his marriage. And we did a session, and at the beginning, he was like, my wife just doesn't pay attention to me. She doesn't, she's not putting any effort into our relationship. I'm putting in all the effort. So that's where he was. We did our session, and at the end, we did a balance, and he's like, okay, I'm feeling so much better. And he's like, oh my gosh. And he looks down and he picks up this something. It was like a little gift and a handwritten note from his wife that was on his desk, 2 feet, maybe 3 feet away from him. And he's like, this has been here the whole day. This thing has been here the whole day. I didn't even see it until just now. That is how, like, literally this thing had been sitting on his desk since probably 7 a.m. and it was 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And his brain didn't even allow him to pick up on it because of how strong his mindset was about his belief about his wife. And I just thought, that is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so really trying to examine and become more aware of, what are your limiting beliefs? What are the beliefs that you're just carrying? What are your default beliefs that you have? And here's the thing you have to do, though. It's not just about that. It's, what do you want to replace them with? What type of life do you want to create? What type of outlook do you want to have? You have to consciously decide that. So even saying things like, it's so hard for me to lose weight, or I don't have time to be healthy, or I don't have time to like cook my own meals or work out or whatever it is, that comes back to what Mama Donna was saying at the beginning. Like those are choices, right? So like you eliminating those haves and those shoulds and those can'ts and saying like, well, I'm not choosing to make time for that. And that's being honest with yourself, right? And I'm not judging anyone here. Again, I lived this way for a long time. And then it's replacing them. I love affirmation statements. There's such a powerful way to create that new reality and then repeat them and start ingraining them. And then they can start replacing the old beliefs that you have if you repeat them to yourself every day. And I want to give you 5 tips for creating your own affirmation statement. So 1, it's present tense.
Wait.
Okay.
Give everybody just a minute. If
Okay.
anybody wants to get a pen or paper, I just got one. Or take out your phone right now and put these in because these are powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I can drop it in the chat as well. But number 1, present tense. It's not I will, it's not one day. They're present tense right now. They're first person. So it's not someday my life will improve or someday life will improve. It's my life is improving. First person, present tense. They are emotionally meaningful, right? So, and I have a list of like 80 affirmations. Maybe I'll just drop that in. But it's emotionally meaningful to you, right? So, and what I like to do is whatever situation I'm facing or whatever challenge I'm facing, what is the opposite of that? What do you want to create? Ask yourself that question. And then that's how you develop your affirmation. So present tense, first person, emotionally meaningful, fairly short. And, you can have an and or 3, like if you want to say, I am confident, focused, and calm. That's a great affirmation statement. But you don't want to have like 10 characteristics, right? So, and then you could have a different one with more characteristics. And then the last is positively stated. So it's not can't or don't, it's the opposite of that. So your affirmation statement is not something like, I don't have fear. It's, I have courage.
Love it. So we're going to definitely pop that in the chat for you guys. And it's so great you said that because in this little chapter that I was writing about, I talk about meditation and affirmation. And Alan Cohen, he was another one of our guest speakers. He's really big on affirmations. He's written like 30 books. You'll love Alan Cohen. One of the books that changed my life was called The Dragon That Doesn't Live Here Anymore by Alan Cohen. And the affirmations are a really big part of that. It's like, how do we get rid of those dragons, those shitters who are shitting on us inside, creating leaky gut, that's stress, right? And so we want to get rid of those shitters who are shitting on us so that we don't get leaky gut, or at least start healing and repairing the gut. Lo, I want to say that this has been like an incredible time. Time is going so fast. And I just have a few really quick announcements, and then I'd love to invite you to come back on. And while I'm doing these announcements, you can look through the chat and you can pop anything else in that you want, ways people can contact you. I know you had some offers that you wanted to, if people want to reach out to you. So, but I wanted to let all of you know, especially on the live show, on the replay, it might not matter so much how you guys on the replay, but I am actually leaving. Tomorrow's my birthday, you guys. I'm going to be 66 years old. Oh, 66. Yeah, and it's quite the chick. So anyway, I am leaving on next Wednesday, and I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing, Lo, that I'm super excited about, we're going to a memorial, which is going to be more like a celebration of life and family reunion for the first 5 days. And then my husband and I are going to Baja, Mexico, and I'm going to be spending a full week and doing a detox and really experiencing this die off that Lo was talking about. And, you know, when you're going through these detoxes, you do get, like, I've been feeling really low. I'm on a pre-detox right now. And just having you affirm that is everything you've said I felt like you were called to happen to be on a dose of positivity this Thursday, Lo. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate everything you said. So I want to wish you all a happy going into summer. The next guest when we come back on, I think it's June 15th or 16th. Tell you'll correct me, but it's a longtime friend of mine in Low. You will absolutely love this woman. Her name is Callie O'Neill. She's an environmental artist who is a hot yoga teacher. She's in her 60s. She looks like she's 40. She's super healthy, holistic person, and her art and the mindset and the power of the mind and what she's been able to do with her art, because you know we don't realize, nobody understands how powerful each and every one of us are, and it's how we choose to use our powers. Our powers are our special gifts, how we show up. And Callie O'Neill has a way of showing up that is not only artistically beautiful, but she is really a social and environmental justice advocate, and does it through this medium that has kept her sane, because she's had her emotional ups and downs. And so I encourage all of you, in addition to everything that Lo was saying with the breathing and meditation and affirmations and all the juicy wisdom we got from her today, is to find out what gives you joy. Because when you know who you are and you know what you love to do and you have a purposeful why, you're unstoppable. The thing that we have to realize is that that unstoppable word gets people like me and Lo into sometimes a low. So you also have to be unstoppable and know when to stop. Like, I know one of my Beverly, you're on there and you're with your grandkids. I mean, you know, you have to say no, enough's enough. Grandma's on overload. Whatever, is to listen to you. If there's a room full of doctors in the room, you are the only one who really knows what's going on. You want to listen, take it all in, but then breathe it in and take it all in. And the answers are there. Don't give that power away. Don't give your intuitive notion away. And also test, don't guess if you're having any health issues. There's a lot of beautiful things popping into the chat. So, and I also want to, at this time, welcome anybody who has any more questions, anybody who has anything that they want to contribute to this. EMP pattern multivitamins, this is really good stuff. Everybody look in the chat. Thank you, Sandra, for putting this in here. This is really great. And yes, brain fog gone with the GAPS diet, and Tel put in Dr. Natasha Campbell's link in there. I really hope you guys listen to that episode. And there's actually two. Oh, I'm not. You'll see it. You'll see when you go on there. But anyway, I love that you put in this creating affirmations in here. Everybody, make sure you pop that in. Everybody, thank you for your happy birthday blessings. I love you. Really appreciate that. So, Lo, we have about 5 minutes left, and then if nobody's bold enough to ask a question live or put in any more questions in the chat, we will go off in about 5 minutes. And anybody wants to hang on, I have some beautiful things happening in the garden to show you all. So, and then you can talk directly.
And I want to add to a lot of the stuff that Donna and I were talking about, and especially with gut issues, and I think you mentioned this earlier, but I just wanted to reiterate, finding a holistic doctor, an integrative nutrition or functional doctor, like those are the people that are going to be able to help you, in my experience. it just takes like a deeper level of understanding and getting poop tests done and all this stuff. So if you have questions about that stuff, message Donna or I, and we're happy to share information or resources with you. But my primary care doc was not able to help me. Maybe yours can, and they are awesome. But typically you just want to look for a couple more things.
That is so great. You just said that. My primary care just sent me a certified letter in the mail that she was firing me. Like, I can't be her patient anymore because it's too complicated and she doesn't know what to do. And but you're right. This is really true. And we have had some really incredible functional medicine doctors on, and we have more coming on. And it's not that you don't need a primary care in the medical system. I always use this as full disclosure. You got to go to the emergency room, and for certain things, there is Western medicine is the bomb. It's great. It's great. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Lo. I think that's really important. And I have willing to share what I'm learning right now, and the doctor that I'm working with, who's a MD and a functional medicine doctor. And Lo, I want to get your doctor information from you as well. So after we go, unless you want to share that right now in the chat, you can, and then other people will have it. But yeah, I would love for you to close us out. You've already given us so much stuff, and for people to inhale and digest. I'd love to you talked about that gut brain connection, and so right now from your gut, what are you feeling that you want to leave everybody with from this call that is going to empower them with a massive dose of positivity to choose to change? Because I know somebody put in there they don't want to change their lifestyle, and so please, I know that was kind of an ambiguous question, but just leave us with your juiciest nuggets with that brain gut connection, and help send us off with, so we're all feeling amazing, which I already do just listening.
Okay. Yay. All right. Well, first I want you to cross one of your ankles over the other. So like either left ankle on top of your right or right ankle on top of your left. And then I want you to put one of your wrists over the other. So cross it like this. And then you're going to clasp your hands together. And you can either, yep, you do exactly. Donna knows. So this is called the whole brain posture. And this was actually designed to help people with ADHD and dyslexia. But it puts your brain into a whole brain state. So it's connecting the left and right hemispheres. It's very powerful. So everyone just take a couple breaths here as I talk and give you this final thought. But I think, if you're not driven to make some of these changes for yourself, like for me, it was like, I just want to feel better because I don't want to feel like crap anymore. But if you're like, oh, it's too hard, think about the people in your life, your relationships, if you have kids or your parents or your significant other or anyone, your friends. Think about those people, because your time with them is going to be impacted, and you're just limiting yourself. You can have such a bigger, more enjoyable life experience when you start implementing some of the stuff and taking care of yourself, that you owe it to yourself. You get to have a good life, because when you're doing that, you help others so much more. So there's nothing selfish about it. It's actually allowing you to help the world even more by taking care of yourself. Paradoxically, I know. But a lot of times, and I'll close with this final thing, a lot of times when people say like, oh, if you want to cheer yourself up, go cheer someone else up, that gives your power away. Take care of yourself and don't rely on someone else to fix your problems for you. Take care of you, and then you can help others from an even better, more loving place.
Lo, I love you. I love you so much, and I love all of you on this show who showed up live. And I want to thank you a million times over. I hope everybody feels better. I am ADHD and dyslexic, and I have been doing this for some time. And you are so right. It so helps. And thank you for reminding me to do that. And someday we are going to have you back on the show because we've got lots of great comments. And all I'm going to say right now is everybody just give big shout out. You can come off mute if you want and just thank Lo, because I don't know about you, but I feel so much better. And I want to thank all of you for coming on to A Dose of Positivity. And there's lots of love coming to you in the chat right now, honey. We are going to
Thank you.
end the live show, and anybody who wants to stay on and for about 10-15 minutes, see some beautiful scenery, some flowers, and talk with Lo and I, and bare your souls, we are here for you. So I want to again say we'll see you in 3 weeks for another dose of positivity. And mahalo for everybody who's listening to this on all the live streams and here on the live show. And for those of you who took the time to listen to the replay, we love your comments and your feedback below. If you're listening to the replay, and we'll get back to each and every one of you. Big, big love and aloha.